Welcome, beautiful people. My name is Keelan, and I'm going to take you through a Kripalu-based breathing and asana practice. So we've been asana, just it's postures, movement. Breathing is pranayama. And we've been focusing on ADHD recently. In the past few weeks, we spoke about cross-hemispheric integration, and this week and next week, we're focusing on the breath, because there's so much juicy research that shows us that for individuals with ADD and ADHD, that the breath work can be very, very helpful on focusing one's attention on a singular task and also memory recall, as well as breath work can help with sort of like those like fidgeting mannerisms or anxiety that can come along with ADHD. So start us off coming into a comfortable seated position. This could be in a chair or on the earth. Wherever you are, just move the fleshy part of the buttocks out of the way so that you can really root those sits bones down into the earth. And then whether you're on a chair or on the earth, begin to just become aware of where you are connecting to the earth beneath you. You might be connecting to the earth that's connected to the floor, that's connected to the mat, or to a chair, to the floor, to the earth. And then on that next inhale, lift and lengthen tall through the crown of the head. And exhale, melt the shoulders down the back body, bringing the hands to rest comfortably on the thighs. Bringing that awareness to the breath, both in and out of the nose. You have options here. You can choose to keep the eyes softened, which means sort of blurring the vision and bringing the gaze just slightly on the earth in front of you, or allowing the eyes to close all the way here. Slowing that breath down, landing in this space, making sure the head is in alignment over the heart, and the heart is aligned over your center, over your pelvis. Nice clear line of that energy all the way through the torso, vertebrae stacked on vertebrae, and keeping that connection to the breath. Begin now to elongate that exhale until it is twice as long as the inhale. Using this breath as a tool to activate the brain, letting it know you're in a safe space, stepping out of that fight or flight shallow breath and into a deeper, more calm and centered state of breathing and being. Becoming hyper aware and grateful for each breath. Luxuriating on both the inhale and the exhale. Allowing each breath to be fresh and new. And on that exhale, really tuck that belly button up and in, squeezing out every last drop of breath, so that that next breath can be light and fresh and buoyant. Feeling that belly button expand out on the inhale and contract up and in on the exhale, engaging this belly breath. Feeling that belly expand out on the inhale and contract on the exhale. Bringing more movement and awareness to your breath in the body. Now, option to continue with this belly breathing, or we can activate a further consciousness of self by using the Ujjayi breath. So Ujjayi means ocean sounding. And it is an awesome tool for continuing that journey inward. So sort of cutting out that sensory awareness out you, cutting out that sense of overwhelm, the to-do list, the 8 tasks you're in the middle of, and bringing it all inward so that you can realign in the moment, recalibrate to your own sense of center, your own sense of balance, before coming back out into the world to address all the things that need to be done in a timely, focused way. So again, option to keep with that balloon breath, or begin to slightly restrict the back of the throat, like close it up a little bit, as though you are trying to fog up a mirror with your mouth closed, or like that, like when you breathe out on a cold day to see your breath. But all of that with the eyes closed, with the mouth closed, extending and lifting tall once again to realign, and then layering on that Ujjayi breath, which you should be able to hear me doing it now, so you can sort of get an idea. Now, if you're doing this and you're feeling lightheaded or dizzy at all, just soften the restriction in the back of the throat so that you're not getting dizzy, making sure you're getting enough oxygen in here. Take 3 more of these breaths, either the belly breath or the Ujjayi breath. And then return to just a normal state of breathing in and out of the nose. Just feeling the differences of what a few minutes of intentional breath work and meditation can offer you. Tapping into this feeling so that you can step right back into it when you need it. Knowing that the tools of yoga are for when our mat is rolled out, but also for every breath we take and every day, every action. It's always there for us. When you're ready, allow the eyelids to flutter back open. We'll come into a sun breath of inhale, bringing the arms out side to side, hands to the sky, and the gaze follows. And then exhale to slide down to heart center, tucking the chin into the chest. Inhale to come up and out, lifting and rising. Exhale to slide it on down, return to home. Coming through a few rounds of this breath, you'll notice that there's going to be a lot of breath to movement pairs in this practice. Really asking you to use the totality of that inhale to come into a movement, and all of that exhale to come into that opposite gesture here. Another option is to imagine you're sort of scooping up some sunshine or love here between the palms, and then exhale, bringing it down to heart center, nourishing. And then the last breath here. Big and beautiful. Exhale, squeezing every last drop of that breath back out into the world. Inhale to bring the head back up to center. Firmly plant one head to the earth and exhale. Come up and over into a side stretch. Now we're going to turn this into a bit of a dance with the breath. Inhale to come back to center. Exhale to swim on over to the other side. Inhale to center. Exhale to dive over. Let this be fun, right? It's a dance. It's a journey. It doesn't have to look the same when you come to each side. You know, you can really pull that arm back or come forward. Can really come down into it a few times, coming onto that forearm, making sure that the thighs stay firmly rooted into the earth. And then inhale to come back through to center. Pausing here to bring the soles of the feet flat on the earth in front of you. And we're going to come into a moving twist. So nice big deep breath in here, lifting tall through the crown of the head to find some extension. And then exhale, knees go to one side, reach back and around that shoulder behind you. And then inhaling to center, exhaling to the other side. Inhaling to center, exhaling to the other side. Same as before, letting there be some fluidity here, and I mean fluidity in between each breath cycle here. You know, do you want to stretch a little more? Do you want to come down closer to the earth? Let it be your practice. One more time on each side. And then returning back to center and then coming forward onto hands and knees. You can place a blanket underneath the knees here if you have any sensitivity in the knees. And if you experience any sensitivity in the wrists, you could come up onto fists, taking the bend out of the wrist here. So we're gonna, again, work with that breath of inhale, bump the hips to the right, and then look over the right shoulder at the hips. Exhale to center. Inhale to bump. Exhale to center. So following your own breath, your own timing on this one. And then returning back to center here, making sure you're really tucking that belly button up and in. Nice flat back from the tip of the tailbone, extending all the way through the crown of the head. Gaze right in front of you down at the earth, and then inhale, tilt the pelvis, open the heart, lift the crown. Exhale to round everything, tucking that belly button up and in. Inhale to open. Exhale to round. Letting this be a beautiful flow, beautiful dance. Inhale to come back to that center position, tabletop, and then walk the hands towards the front edge corners of the mat and just begin to make some circles here with the hips. And I want you to start like small, super duper small here to start. And then let each circle get a little bit bigger here. Really starting to move with the whole body. Side, back, nice and big. Letting it be a celebration of your movement and your breath coming together. And then on your next inhale, reverse, going in the opposite direction, nice and big to start. And then letting those circles get a little bit smaller each time. Smaller and smaller until returning to center. Hands back under the shoulders. Firmly plant that left hand down into the earth, and with the right arm, just start making some arm circles. Whatever size you want them to be, whatever feels good. And if you hit a spot that's talking to you, you're like, oh, I really feel it right there. Try rocking back and forth there. So in your inhale to bring your awareness to that part of the body, and the exhale to release any tension. Let's pull that down a little. On that next exhale, reverse, going in the opposite direction. Feeling that connection to the core here to stabilize you. Keeping those hips right over the knees. So staying in the integrity of the tabletop, even with one arm windmilling in these beautiful circles. Exhale to firmly plant that hand down to the earth, and then inhale that left hand. Remembering to let out any sighs, moans, or groans. And then exhale, reversing. Coming to plant that hand down to the earth. Bring the knees to be the width edges of the mat, the toes to touch, and then sink the hips back down to the toes, mount down into child's pose for 4 deep, nourishing breaths. Inhale to rise back up here. Crisscross those feet and then roll all the way back and over, extending those feet straight out in front of you. Now we're going to come to some seated positions here. And if you have a blanket nearby, I would recommend just sitting on the very edge of it. And what that does is it tilts the pelvis slightly forward, so extending one leg straight out in front of you. The sole of the other foot is pressing into that inner thigh. And then activating that foot, pointing it as though the toes are raised right towards the ceiling. If you have a strap, this could be a great option just to wrap around that foot, keeping the ends of the strap like loose in your hand to start. And then inhaling to extend, lift through the crown, zipping right up through the core. Shoulders melt and soften down the back body here. Inhale, lift the arms up and overhead. And then exhale to pivot from the hips, coming forward, keeping a nice flat back. Now for me, it's not very far that I can keep a nice flat back. But each exhale here is an opportunity to see if it can come just like a little bit further while keeping that integrity in the spine. Pausing for 4 breaths in and out of the nose. Always, always an option to drop into that Ujjayi breath. One more big deep breath in, and then exhale. Allow yourself to melt over that leg, round the shoulders, coming towards those toes. Now you might make it to the toes, you might make it to the ankle, you might make it here. Wherever you are, it's your journey. Celebrate it. And see if you can use that exhale to soften and melt it a little bit closer to that foot. Not that you need to, but if you could, that'd be cool too. Inhale to slowly rise up. This time extending both legs straight out in front of you, coming into staff pose. So legs straight, slight micro bend in those knees, never locked knees. Then lifting tall through the crown, shoulders soften, and then an inhale to bring those hands to heart center. Exhale, twist to look out past your left shoulder. Inhale to center. Exhale to twist. Inhale to center. Exhale to twist. Few more times on each side. Remembering to extend that exhale, making it twice as long as the inhale. One more time on each side. And then returning back to center, this time bending that other knee, pressing that leg into the inner thigh here. And all those same prompts, zipping up through the core, letting it lift and extend through the crown of the head. That foot nice and active, shoulders softened, away from the ears. And then an inhale to lift those hands up and overhead. And an exhale to melt over those legs, keeping that nice flat back to start. The key point here is hinging from the hips rather than bending in the back. That's how you keep that integrity in the spine. Few deep breaths here. Celebrating your body, this posture, the possibility of this unique moment. One more big deep breath in here. And then exhale to allow yourself to round and fold over that foot. Breathing deep. Remember that exhale holds the potential to soften and melt a little bit closer to that foot with every breath cycle. Inhale to slowly rise back up. And then this time, bringing the soles of the feet to touch in front of you. So If you've taken a class with me before, probably know it's super good for you to rub the feet. So we're just gonna get a little foot love going on here to start, making sure you get each individual toe, the area where the foot connects to the toe. Because out of 120,000 nerve endings in the body, 80,000 are in your feet, which means that there's 80,000 other parts of your body that you are nourishing and tending to by rubbing your feet. Like, yes, it feels good for your feet, which are your grounding force to Mother Earth. So always good to tend to them. But you know, double win. 80,000 double wins. All keeping that intentional connection to the breath here. All right, once your feet feel like butter, right? You got the tops, you got the ankles, the arches. Choose here. You can either bring the hands to the ankles or interlace those fingers and make like a little hat for your toes and just tuck it right on there. And then inhale to lift and lengthen, extending through the crown. Exhale to settle in further through those sits bones, connecting to the earth. And then inhale to lift those legs. Exhale to float them down. Inhale to lift. Exhale to soften. Using your own timing, seeing, checking in. Is that exhale twice as long as the inhale? And can you use all of that exhale to come back down closer to the earth with those thighs? And you know, my thighs get pretty close to the earth now, but it's also like 15 consistent years of yoga. You know, so even if you're only going this far, still use all of that exhale. There's power to micro movements. I learned that this weekend. I took like a micro movement yoga class and it was mind blowing to me. I went from like vinyasa power yoga to restorative and gentle yoga to now I'm like, maybe I should be doing more micro yoga. All right, one more breath cycle here. Breathing in, coming back down. Beautiful. Sitting up nice and tall, crossing those ankles once more to come forward onto hands and knees in tabletop. So from here, all the same alignment, all the same cues, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, tucking that belly button up and in to get the nice flat back here. And then inhale to extend that right leg straight out and back. And we're gonna do a little like gentle heat, right? So inhale to drop that knee down to the ground, exhale to lift it up. And we're just gonna do a couple of those super slow here. Connecting to that breath. Building your strength gently with all the love. And then on the next inhale, I want you to bend that knee, step that foot all the way up and through, planting it on either side of that front foot. If you have blocks, now would be a great time to use them. If you don't have blocks, you could use folded blankets or pillows or just anything that will lift the earth to you. So just notice the difference here. When I'm down here, still pretty flat back. But you know, there's this, and then there's this. So same with that forward fold is keeping the priority of those shoulders softened and down and that nice flat back. Breathing deep here. We're going to go into another little flow here, connecting to the breath. Inhale to come forward. Exhale to come back. And you can even lift those toes up off the ground here. So just rocking back and forth, playing here. remembering that this is a safe space for sighs, moans, groans. You can let it all out here, my friends. This is part of the authentic practice, letting out any sounds. Because if we're holding in sounds, we're probably also holding in things that are muscles. So whatever we can consciously soften and let go, just let be what it needs to be, the better. All right, coming back to center here, back over with the knee over the ankle, and then drop that left hand to the earth and starting to make some nice big circles, staying connected to that breath in and out of the nose here. Letting the pace of your breath guide how quickly that hand is circling. And we're lifting up high and then exhale to reverse, going in the opposite direction. Keeping the integrity in the rest of the body. Exhale to land that hand down. Now, if you have those blocks here, you can scooch those to the side, firmly plant those hands to the earth, and then I want you to walk that foot out closer towards the opposite thigh, right? So that right foot is by the left thigh here, and this is pigeon pose. You've come into king pigeon. You're up on those fingertips, nice and high. Now, option here, you can make this stretch deeper by walking this back leg back farther. So the farther back this leg is, the deeper the stretch is going to be, all right? So choose your level of engagement, and then inhale, come up onto those fingertips, open the heart, melt the shoulders down the back, and breathe. 3 deep breaths here. Feel that breath grounding and rooting you through all the parts of the body that are connected to the earth here. Taking one more big breath in, and then exhale, begin to melt your torso down to the earth. If you have those blocks here, feel free to use them to lift the earth to your forehead, or you could stack arm on arm or fist on fist. It's totally a yogi's choice situation here, but whatever it is, melt and surrender. Use each exhale to soften a little bit more into this beautiful posture. Inhale, begin to bring your awareness back to the space around you, and then slowly begin to come back up to that king pigeon. And then firmly plant those hands to the earth, walk up that back leg, and then unravel that leg, coming back into tabletop pose, and just bump the hips to the left and the right a few times. No real intention, other than just a bit of counter gesture, a bit of movement, something that feels natural. And then coming back to that center, extending that left leg straight out and back this time. And then inhale to drop to the earth, exhale to bring it back up. And remember, you get to choose your heat level here. So if you're like, Keelan, you don't make us work this hard normally. Remember, you just, even just a little bit, that's legit, that counts. You do you, boo. It's your practice. And then on that next inhale, bend that knee, pull the foot all the way up and through, planting it between those front feet, coming into that runner's lunge, making an active choice. If you're finding those shoulders rounding, then coming up onto something, bringing the earth to you. The integrity of the pose is what matters more than anything else, is keeping the spine in alignment, keeping the hips squared, the knees, front knee over front ankle. These are the things that will sustain your practice so that you're still doing yoga when you're 180. That's my goal. 150 more years of yoga, 145 more years of yoga. I think my math might be wrong. All right. This is why I don't teach math. This is why I teach yoga. Okay, so same as before. Inhale to come forward. Exhale to come back. And then inhale, coming back to center. So front knee stacked over front ankle. And instead of circling on each side, right? We're gonna inhale to go back and exhale to come up. Inhale to come back. Exhale to come up. Now you're welcome to choose and go with those arm circles if you would prefer. This requires a little bit more balance, a little bit more stability. So choosing what's going to nourish you, what's going to allow you to stay connected to that strong inhale through the nose and exhale back out of the nose. One more cycle here. And then exhale to float back down to the earth here. Move any blocks you might be using out of the way. And then firmly planting the feet to the earth. And walk that foot on over to the side here. No rush, take your time. So now the left foot is by the right thigh. And then I'm gonna walk that back leg, remembering that the farther you go, the deeper that stretch is gonna be. And I want you just to take a look at that back leg. If it's heading straight back behind you, that means your hips are on point. But mine is going a little bit to the side, so you wanna square those hips. It's like scissoring the hips, like, or the legs towards each other. That right hip comes forward and the left hip goes back. That brings everything into alignment. And then inhaling to come up onto those fingertips. Coming tall into proud pigeon. Taking some deep breaths here. Melting those shoulders down the back body. Feeling that extension and length through the crown of the head. Feeling bold and beautiful here. Big deep breath in through the nose and then exhale, make that journey down to the mat. Bringing a bit of restoration to this pose. Option to just close those eyes and zen out here for a minute. Beginning to bring your awareness back to the space around you. Slowly making your way towards King Pigeon once again. And exhale to drop those palms to the earth. Bring back the left leg and the right, and just coming back into a child's pose of your choosing for 4 breath cycles. Inhaling in, just slowly roll up, this time coming onto the sides of the hips, bringing the feet right out in front of you, soles of the feet flat on the earth, and then slowly bringing yourself to lay down on the mat here. Oh, hugging the knees into the chest, gently rocking side to side. Beginning to slow it all down for the end of our practice. Then making some circles with the knees here, first going in one direction. And the other. And then kicking up the heels here towards the ceiling, and then grabbing either the outer edges of the feet or taking those the peace fingers, and wrapping them around the big toe, and then kicking the feet up towards the ceiling. Gently rocking side to side. You can kick the legs out. If you're not quite able to make it to those feet, that's cool. Grab the ankles, always a legit option. Taking some deep breaths here. Once again, slowing that breath down. Remembering there's nothing else you need to be doing. Nowhere else you need to be, but reveling in the glory of this magic moment. Releasing those toes, bringing the knees and the feet together and letting the feet fall to one side, making sure both shoulders stay firmly rooted. If you find that bringing the feet down to the earth pulls up this shoulder, then what you can do is place a pillow or a blanket underneath them, lifting the earth to the knees so that both shoulders stay connected to the earth. And then inhale, open up the arms either side at shoulder height. And then lastly, turning to look in the opposite direction. Allowing the eyes to soften or close here. Surrendering to the support beneath you. Inhaling in, bringing the gaze to center and the knees to center. And then exhale, continuing in the other direction. Head turns to look in the opposite direction of those knees. Once again, softening and surrendering. Inhale to bring the head to center, the knees to center. This time extending the legs straight out. And inhale, bring those arms up and overhead. And just reach, full body stretch, like you're creating length through each vertebrae of the spine. Exhale, soften everything. You're gonna do that again. Inhale to reach. And exhale to soften everything. This time walking the feet towards the bottom right edge corner of the mat, and then the right hand takes the left wrist and pulls the upper torso through the top right edge corner of the mat, coming into a side stretch on the total body here. Breathing into that space that's created on the left side. And exhaling any tension that you might be holding on to, keeping that connection to the breath. Exhale to soften everything, returning back to center. And then this time walking the feet towards the bottom left corner edge of the mat. Left hand grabs right wrist and pulling the torso to the top corner edge of the mat. Breathing deep. Exhale to unwind, unravel. Whew. And then preparing for your Shavasana. So if you want to add a blanket on top of you or underneath you. If you happen to be menstruating this time of the month, it can even be nice to just place your hands right on that lower abdomen or block right there. Just a little bit of pressure, like you're giving a little hug to your uterus. And then getting super duper cozy. Any last thing you can do to bring yourself a little more comfort, all the better. Because the more relaxed you are here, the more you'll be able to receive and integrate in your Shavasana. And I just want you to take this last opportunity in our practice to connect to the breath, creating an exhale that's twice as long as the inhale. Breathing deep into all four corners of the lungs. And then as you're ready, drifting off into your Shavasana, breathing in a normal way in and out of the nose, prepared to receive. Beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes. Making circles with the wrists and ankles in one direction and then the other. Then I want you to roll onto the right side in the fetal position, using that right arm as a pillow for the head. Pausing for a breath cycle here. Then as you're ready, gently making your way up towards a comfortable seated position of your choosing. Nice big deep breath in through the nose and out through the nose. And inhale the hands to heart center. And we will close our practice with 3 ohms. So nice big deep breath in. My wish for you on this day and every day that follows is peace of body, peace of heart, peace of mind. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And see you next time.